Today we're going to be going over the top 5 most expensive theme teams to make right now in Madden. Now you guys know when I do these, I always leave off the promo theme teams just because obviously the promo theme teams, especially the current one going on, is always going to be more than everything else. So I'm going to leave that off. That I always want to keep these strictly NFL theme teams. Shout out to the boys that are still rocking NFL theme teams. Now this list is just based off how expensive their team is to make. You know, obviously, you're like, well, what if their backup quarterback's like a 92 or something? Obviously, you're not going to spend 92 on a backup quarterback. So I had to break it down to just the essential, the most essential players you could get. Obviously, some backups are going to be a little bit just because everybody runs their teams differently. But I would say this is a pretty, it's pretty accurate list. Now that we got that out the way, man, let's go ahead and get right into this list. Starting off the list at number 5, we got the Tennessee Titans. They cost $8.49 million to make now. Also with these teams, because I know there's probably like some positions like on MudGG they might have like a old LTD for like boosting, like for example I think like for the Titans they had like DeAndre Hopkins, but instead of this slot they had this extra LTD instead of a series redux, so it was add like an extra 400,000 on. So I did go through these teams and also make sure like there wasn't no bogus cars, like a backup quarterback for like 300,000 or something like that. So besides that, we did go through this to make sure, everything was accurate. But the Tennessee Titans do end up at number 5. Titans do got a pretty good, pretty nice offense, though. You got the brand new Bruce Matthews. He's a lot. We're going to go over each one of these players' prices as well. I just kind of want to go over each part of their team just so you can kind of see. They got Runyon, Dave Casper. That man is a lot. Julio, A.J. Brown, and Randy Moss, receiver. So it's not terrible. Derrick Henry and Chris Johnson, a running back, a nasty running back duo. Then you got Aaron McNair, Pasternaut as the backup. But like I said, we're not going to obviously factor in his price just because you don't need to spend that much on a backup quarterback, and if you're using this team you're using Aaron McNair. So it's a really good offense. Right here we can see the players, the price of the players for offense and defense. You can see Dave Casper is $2.7 million. I can't imagine spending that much on a tight end, man. That's crazy. But Bruce Matthews is basically a mil. Derrick Henry's almost 500,000. You got Aaron McNair for 400K, which really isn't that bad of a price. Randy Moss is 300,000. That's also really not a bad price. Chris Johnson's 300K, and if you're using this team, you might want to use Chris Johnson or Derrick Henry or even both. Maybe you got a schemer use 2 running backs. So I got to factor in even like these, even how deep some of these positions get, because there's, for example, some people might use 4 or 5 corners for dollars. Some people might use 6 or 7 D linemen for 6-1. You know what I mean? So you got to factor in depth. It's only like stupid things like old LTDs or like a backup quarterback. You see John Runyon is 200,000. Peter, whatever this guy's name is. This is actually a guy you're probably like, well, there's no way that this 93 is also a left guard, so why would you want to use him? But if you're using a Titans team, you're probably moving him over to like right guard or something like that. So offense is definitely a little bit expensive, but I mean it's a pretty good team. For the Tennessee defense, it's not terrible. You got Jack Tatum, Keith Bullock. They got some pass rushers, Arakpo, Clowney. Not really too bad. The Randy Moss, there's really only, obviously their offense is obviously cost way more than their defense. I mean, really, I think the most expensive guy here is probably got to be Randy Moss if I had to guess, right? If we look at the defense, yes, Randy Moss, 800,000, and then the next one is a huge drop off all the way to Keith Bullock. He's not even 400K, so the defense is definitely a lot cheaper to make. I mean, you can see it right here. It shows all the stuff right here. And then special teams, I'm pretty sure they have, Gary Anderson. So the Tennessee is the 5th most expensive team in the game. Defense, defense, I'll be honest, this defense does not look very pretty. I mean, their D-line is pretty solid, but the secondary is definitely pretty questionable. 4th most expensive team in the game right now is the Rams, actually. The Los Angeles Rams. I mean, they've been getting a lot of cards. I mean, a lot of times what leads to these teams being so expensive is their LTDs, or there's just that one guy which is an outrageous price, which for offense for them is obviously most likely going to be Todd Gurley. And I feel like you have to count Todd Gurley because he is truly their running back. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he actually gets 2 times count for them for the team diamond, since he's actually like their card. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. But the Rams actually got a good little offense. I mean, the only offensive lineman you're really having to spend coins on is Whitworth. The tight ends are pretty cheap, but then you got Torrey Holt, Odell, Puka. Robinson, we did not factor because my GG tried to use the LTD. He has a series redux, so we, obviously didn't use the price tag for that card. They got Odell, Torrey Holt, Folk, Kurt Warner. It's actually this is a pretty good offense. Right here is the prices. We got Todd Gurley, $2 million, man. He's not even the most expensive guy on here. Who was it? It was well, actually, I don't know on here total, but so far the most was Dave Casper. He was 2.7, which is crazy. We got Andrew Whitworth. I called him Andre. Andrew Whitworth, 475. Odell, 469. Now we did use Odell's LTD price. I know he has a Series Redux. I'm not gonna lie, their price was pretty much almost identically the same. It wasn't that much difference, so we just kept that because it wasn't that big of a difference price wise. Torrey Holt was 440, Puka was 420. You got Marshall for 400, Kurt Warner 355. So, you know, their offense is a little pricey, but I mean, some of the playmakers on here are definitely worth it. The defense of the Rams is kind of around the same price range. It's not a whole lot different. You got some big timers, man. You got that Night Train Lane, you know, Jalen Ramsey, Clay Matthews. So there's some big timers here. You got Peters, Terminator's probably not that much, but you know, Peters, Peters card, in my opinion, is still a little disappointing. Just, I mean, unless you run, I guess if you run man, you probably like him, but for zone wise, you know, he's a little disappointing. But you can see that they got some pretty decent names. Their secondary, well, I guess their safeties are a little lacking. I can't lie, it's not the best there. Their D line is you know what I mean? It's just but we can look at the details right here on the defense. Night Train Lane. So they got 2 million coin cards, man. It's crazy. You got Jalen Ramsey for 439. I did just remove Von Miller. Von Miller's LTD was in there. I forgot about that. Either way, though, there's, you know, it honestly didn't make that much of a difference, but I wanted to be accurate, so I did take that out of there. So we got him up out of there. You got Peters for 237, Ernest Jones 199. The defense is a lot cheaper. Well, I guess I can't say a lot cheaper because, you know, Night Train Lane and Jalen Ramsey alone are like almost, you know, I don't want to say almost 3 mil, but I mean, it's pretty close to it. So just those two guys alone make this defense pretty expensive. And honestly, I don't think it's really that crazy of a defense. So, you know, this list is obviously just the most expensive teams, but you look at some of these teams and see how expensive they are just because of a couple of cards. But then you see, you know, like this Rams team is definitely not making the top 5 teams list. I don't even know if it's making top 10. Third most expensive team right now is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not gonna lie, I did not expect these Steelers to be on there. When I'm looking at some of these cards, and I see why now, but I just did not expect them to be this expensive. This is actually pretty good team. I know a couple people that run Steelers team, and they definitely like it a lot, but I didn't know they were living this lavish. Looking at about 10 million plus coins to make this Steelers team. Starting with their line, you see they got Samalo and Pouncey. Those are some pretty big timers right there. Now, Darnell Washington, I didn't know how I wanted to do him because, you know, you can get him from the field pass, but then if you didn't get him from the field pass, you have to buy him. So I took his price out of it just because most people probably got him from the field pass. And yeah, even if I was to left his price on this list, it would not have made a difference. I'm not going to be lie to you, but I did take it out of it just because. So yeah. But you see receivers, they got Plexico, Pickens, Hines Ward, pretty nasty receivers. Allen Robinson, we talked about before, how, you know, we're not going to count him because it's Series Redux price-wise. They also got Hayward Bay, Michael Vick, a running back, Dre Archer, running back, Le'Veon Bell, and then we got the Michael Vick quarterback. So it's a very, very good offense. I didn't really realize it was that good. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of Michael Vick. I would actually personally use Pastronaut, so I actually left Pastronaut's price in there because some people might want to use Vic, some people might want to use Pastronaut. I would probably go Pastronaut. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of the Mike Vick card, so but obviously with the Titans one, the reason why we left Pastronaut off is because you're not using Pastronaut over McNair. That's just not happening. Here are the price tags for some of the Steelers cards on offense. We got Plexico, which is 2.4 mil. Dave Casper is still the most expensive guy we've seen so far, but Plex, I think it's the second highest. They got Pouncey, who's 1.5 mil. Spending that on an offensive lineman is a crime, man, but Steelers team, man, that's what it is. You got Michael Vick, who's 400,000. George Pickens, 300. Samalo, basically 300. Pastronaut, 200,000, which, like I said, if you're doing the Steelers, I would rather use him over Vick. I like his release better, and I'm not crazy over his release, but I like that release better than Vick, and he gets better abilities than Vick. So you got Le'Veon for 150, Archer for 130, Hayward Bay for 120. So it's actually a pretty good offense. The reason why I'm so surprised the Steelers team is so much, and you know why it's actually so good, is because usually, man, the Steelers team is kind of weird. It's usually never really the greatest, but it might have a little moment where it's decent. But right now, I mean, this team looks pretty goddamn good. You can see for defense right here, They got the Troy Polamalu. Now, I know we talked about the Odell. Some of these guys, like their series redux and their LTD prices just are not that much different. So I did want to say that. You got TJ Watt, Joey Porter, the brand new Mel Blount, which I'm not going to lie, he's more of a man-to-man corner, which kind of, I hate when they do with some of these corners. And I know some of you guys run man schemes, but for the most part, most people are running zone schemes. You're not going to go against a guy a lot of times. It's running a whole bunch of man kills in a man scheme. You haven't seen that much this year. But they also got Steven Nelson, Cameron Sutton. The defensive line it's not terrible. They got some decent cards, but I'd probably say that's the Steelers' weak point is their D line. But they got an all right secondary. You know, it's all right. The offense, I would say, is definitely a lot better than the defense. The prices for their players on defense, you got Mel Blount, 2.5 mil. Whew, I mean, that Steelers team ain't cheap. Troy's 500. That's his LTD price. His series redux is around like 450. So like I said, it's not really too much different there. It's not that big of a difference. Cameron Sutton's basically 500,000. Steven Nelson's 270. TJ Watt 119. Joey Porter 100K. So the defense is a lot. I don't want to say a lot worse than the offense, but just because some of the abilities their guys get, and then some of the prices for some of these guys, I mean, like the Mel Blount, it's just not worth. Some of these guys, it's just straight up not worth it. Like Blunt, you know, I would even say Polamalu for the abilities and stuff. So, but it's an expensive team. Number 2 most expensive team right now is the Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, which it kind of makes sense just because, like, I mean, it's the Chiefs. They're in the Super Bowl. They're going to get more cards than everybody. You know, it's just kind of how it is. So it isn't that big of a surprise. Chiefs are going to cost you about $10.8 million to make, which isn't that much more than the Steelers, which just goes to show you how many like crazy LCDs the Steelers got. Because I mean, the Chiefs, I don't know why I almost call them the Patriots, man. I mean, they're damn near starting to turn into the Patriots, but the Chiefs for sure got a pretty crazy team. I mean, you see the offensive line, it's obviously probably one of their cheapest things. You got Creed Humphrey, and then everybody else probably isn't too much. You got that Travis Kelce, you know, he's a lot. You got Tony Gonzalez, so like 2 really good tight ends, receivers. You got Scanlon, Rasheed Rice, Tyreek Hill. Patrick Mahomes obviously going to get that Super Bowl MVP card, so these guys probably are going to be number 1 once that card comes out. Running backs, you got Peyton Hillis, Pacheco, Le'Veon Bell. The offense is nasty. I mean, there's no doubt about it. These right here are the prices. We got Travis Kelce, 1.1 mil. Peyton Hillis is 700,000. I know he has the Series Redux, recent LTD price. I think his Series Redux is around 600-some thousand. So once again, it's not much of a difference. It's not a big deal. Pat Mahomes is 600,000, but we all know he's about to get that Super Bowl MVP card. That card is going to be millions. So they'll probably take the number 1 spot, but for now, that card is not out. So we got Scanlon for 470, Tyreek Hill for 419, Creed Humphreys 300. Then you got a couple linemen. Like Will Shields is actually 200,000. That's a little because I think he's the team diamond. So I guess that makes sense because people are going to try to make Chiefs teams that need the extra chem. So that makes a little sense out. But Pacheco's 219. You got a Okoye for 197, Rasheed Rice 198, Tony Gonzalez 185. So this is a definitely expensive offense. It's an expensive offense, but it's definitely worth it. Like some of these teams we've said, okay, their offense or defense is expensive, and then I don't know if the cards are really worth it. This is worth it. Defense is really just as good as the offense. I mean, you got the Eric Berry, that card is really good. Tarek Thomas, he's very good. You got Leo Chanel, I'm pretty sure that's how you say his name. Terrell Suggs, Justin Reed, Chavarius Ward. Peters, I'm not really that crazy about. I actually like Steven Nelson over Peters, so I kind of left the option of both of them in there because I'd rather have him in the slot, in my opinion. The Joshua Williams, he's a pretty big card. George Kalafidis, I can never say his name, man. I'm sorry. Got a free Chris Jones, is actually really good. So yeah, this defense is amazing. Now for their defense, they don't have a single guy that actually cost them $1 million. Now I know Eric Berry is almost $1 million, but usually you can get him. He usually sells for under $1 million all the time. If you're actually ending up buying him for $1 million right now, then that's kind of crazy. But yeah, Eric Berry's 900,000. They got Chavarius Ward 750. Carla Fidis, God, I suck at saying his name, man. I know I messed it up, and I know it's not hard, but I don't look, man. It's difficult for me, but he's 700,000. Joshua Williams 488. Leo Chanel 486. Derek Thomas 349. Steven Nelson 270. Peters 230. But usually you're probably picking between one of those guys, unless you play dollar. There's Jared Allen, Terza. Their defensive line is stacked. They got so many different guys in the secondary. This is not only one of the most expensive theme teams in the game, but arguably one of the best theme teams in the game. And for the most expensive theme team in the game right now, it is the 49ers at $12 million. This team is just you know, they might have lost the Super Bowl, but their theme team is for sure winning. You got probably one of the best looking offensive lines for an NFL theme team with Trent Williams, Jake Brendel, Larry Allen, and Colin Mickey Vitz. I think that's how you say his name. I don't know. Some of you guys got weird names, but you know, usually an NFL team doesn't have a very good O-line. They actually surprisingly have a pretty good O-line. And the tight ends, you got George Kittle and Vernon Davis. You know, some of the best tight ends in the game. Throw them on a theme team. That's just nasty right there. You got Debo, Randy Moss, Deion Sanders, a free Jerry Rice, and an Anquan Bolden. You probably need him for chems or something. But that receiving core is just flat out nasty. And then I left, you know, because some people run schemes, right? You got gun empty where you're actually using like 4 extra receivers, and then you might not be a high enough level to use Jerry Rice, so maybe you're still having to use a Deion or, you know, a different receiver. So I'm factoring. There's a lot of stuff that factors in who to keep at their price tag and all that stuff. So yeah. You know, that's just kind of where that is. Now, I know this Christian McCaffrey card is free, but technically it's not, because to actually max him out all the way, you have to throw a 95 in him. So that's, you know, that's even more coins right there just for that guy. You got Brock Purdy, who I think I want to say is Gen 2 release. I'm not 100% sure. He gets good abilities. It's just the release is a little bit, you know, kind of whatever. But this 49ers offense is just flat out disgusting. Prices now for their guys, which nobody even costing $1 million on their offense. It just goes to show that just how many players they have in general. You got Debo for 700, Deion's 5, Purdy 450, Trent Williams is almost 5. Randy Moss 377, Kittle 297. We got Bolden on there for 198, Larry Allen 175, Vernon 120. Like, it's just so many guys. It just all adds up. And I mean, look, I'm not the biggest Niners fan, but I mean, I can give credit where credit's due. In the defense, in my opinion, it gets even better because, you know, the amount of discounts these guys get. I mean, I'm not even gonna lie to you. My starting safeties are Niners. You got Ronnie Lott, that card is amazing. JB, he met his milestones, by the way, so I think he's going to be getting more discounted abilities, so that card is about to get even better. You got the Charvarius Ward, that Randy Moss corner is still really good. You got Fred Warner, I'm not sure how good he still is these days for the box, but Dre Greenlaw, I know he's got to be, you know, really good for the box. Richard Sherman for the slot. Chase Young, you got Bosa, you got so many different names for this D-line. Armstead, Buckner. I mean, this is probably the best defense in the game. Their defense's prices, you got Bosa 1.2 mil, Greenlaw 900,000, Randy Moss is still 800,000, Charvarius Ward 750, Sherman 498. Once again, so a lot of these cover athlete guys, their price is not that much different from their LTD to their normal card. I'm guessing that they're just harder to pull out of packs. So you got JB though, who's 490, Ronnie Lott 480, Chase Young 470, Armstead. I mean, look how many players they have that are at 400. I mean, I gotta keep scrolling. So yeah, they might not have the big guys that are 2 mil this and that like the other teams, but they just got so many guys, man. So the Niners are for sure the best all around. I don't know if I can say I mean, they probably are the best theme team in the game right now. I'm not gonna lie, but they're the most expensive and probably also the best. And just because a theme team costs a lot to make doesn't mean it's very good. I mean, on this top 5 list, some of these teams that are considered the most expensive, I wouldn't even say they're that good. They just have some cars that just cost out of this world. But that is my list for the top 5 most expensive theme team as of right now. The Chiefs are probably going to overtake the Niners once that new Patrick Mahomes comes out, because that card is going to be millions and millions. So this will change, but as of right now, this is what it is. Let me know some other you know, tier lists and stuff like that you'd like to see me do. Maybe we could do one where it's like, you know, top 5 teams with the most LTDs or something like that. You know, just let me know in the comments some ideas you got that you'd like to see. Till the next time though, boys, your boys out.